Hello everyone. This is a continuation of my previous tutorial with MySQL with Docker. So here we learn three different concepts. One is using Docker Compose to run a MySQL container. Okay, so this will help to ease our deployment or running MySQL images in Docker. The second one is persisting MySQL data. So this will help to persist the data whenever there is a container restart. The third one is using custom configuration in MySQL. So this will help to put external configuration for your MySQL. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please like and subscribe. Okay. So I've noted down all the steps. So the first I'll go to hub.docker.com MySQL. So this is the official repository for Docker images of MySQL. So in this page, you will get all the related commands for MySQL. Okay. So I'll use docker pull MySQL. So to pull the image of MySQL. So you can specify a version or give latest. So latest basically pulls the latest MySQL image or the latest version. Okay, so here you can see the versions are given 8.0.27 when I created this video. Okay, so you can specify other versions as well. Okay, so we'll create a docker-compose.yml file. So this YML file contains the setup commands or the environmental variables and other configurations required for our Docker Compose or MySQL Docker Compose. So I'm creating this docker compose.yml file, okay, and I'll write the contents in this file and I'll show you. Okay, so I'm editing with Sublime Text. You can edit with any other code editor of your choice, or you can use Visual Studio Code, okay, to edit this file. So I'm using that YML version, that is version 3.4, okay, and I have written services, or basically I have created one services called DB using MySQL latest. So this is simple, just you have to create services and note down that the spacing of this YML file. If you miss the spacings, okay, there will be error in extracting or basically up and running your Docker container. Okay, so I have passed some environmental variables and here I have exposed the port 23306. Okay, so let me run this Docker Compose file in a command line. Okay, so as you have seen in the Docker Compose file, I have given a default DB called DB and created a user AVT. Okay, so you'll see like when I start this container, those users and DB will get created. So container is starting. Okay, so we'll check the logs. So here with Docker PS, we see all the running containers. Okay. So okay, so we pass Docker logs, then the name of the container. So you can give the container ID also. Okay, so both will work. So as you can see, we are able to view the logs inside our container. So you have to wait for at least 1 minute before MySQL starts inside the container. So before that, if you want to connect or if you connect, you might get error. Okay. So after 1 minute or in your system, it might be a little faster. So once you see this log, like the bind address at the last, you can see. So this indicates that the MySQL server has started. Okay. So bind address port. So this is the last when the container is started. Okay. Then we go inside the Docker shell of our MySQL container with this command docker exec -it, name of the container, and bash. So bash is the startup command when we'll go inside the container. Okay. So we are inside our container and I am giving MySQL u-p. Okay. And I am entering the password. So I have logged into the MySQL shell. Okay. So in this shell, you will be able to view all the databases, all the tables. Okay. So we'll click or write show databases. So this will show all the databases. So here, as you can see, DB is created. That one we passed here. Okay. And we also verify the user table. Select user hostname from mysql.user. So MySQL is the default database when we create a or run a MySQL container. Okay. So inside this, you have see that the every user is also created, which we passed on in our Docker Compose file. Okay. So we log in with every user and give the password. Okay. And we'll view the databases for this user also. And you see the DB database have been created under AVT user. Okay. So you'll also view the tables, and here I am creating a table persons. Okay. And once we write this command show tables, it will show the tables available under this current user. Okay. And you also view the data inside this table, and currently there are no datas. So I'll insert some datas. So this I am showing, like in the next step we'll show, like whenever we restart this container, this data which are inserting will not be available or it's not present with container restart. So that problem we'll solve in our next section. Okay. So once we query select star from persons, you see our two rows have been inserted. So this note down these two date rows. Okay. So this will be helpful in our next section. So I'm stopping the container with docker compose down. Okay. So our container is stopped. Now we again run the container with docker compose up -d. Okay, so our container is started. So with docker ps you can see all running containers. Now we check the logs. So you should wait for some time before it is fully initialized. Now we will go inside our docker shell, or basically the mysql docker container shell. Okay, now we'll log in with a user. So we give MySQL, user is AVT and -p to give the password. Okay, so the password will be the one you give in the Docker Compose file. Okay, So once you write show databases, you see the database is created. Okay. So once we click show tables, you will see that the tables are not available here, which we created in our previous step. Okay. So this is happening because Docker doesn't persist the data with restarts. Okay. So this will solve with volume mount. Okay. So I'll show you the steps for that. So for that volume mount, first we'll create a directory in our local system, or you can use the existing directory as well. Okay. So I've created a directory called data and a child directory db. We'll view the contents now. So initially there will be no contents. Okay. So you have to map this directory. So here also, like in the Explorer, it's not available. So we'll edit and put this Docker volume mount in our Docker compose file. Okay. So here you write these volumes and then the directory you have created. You can give also absolute path as well. Okay. And then we map it with var lib mysql. Okay. And then we give docker compose down. So first we are stopping the running container, and again we'll start it with the new volume mount. Okay. So we give docker compose up minus d. So this time the volume mount will take place. Okay. So we'll check the logs of the container. And you see our container has started. So now if you go inside the directory, you will see all the MySQL data files are dumped inside the directory which we have mapped in the volume. Okay. So now we'll go inside the shell with this command docker exec -it, name of the container and the bash. So you remember or note down these commands. I will also put all these commands and the files in GitHub. So you can clone it from there. So it will be available in the description. Okay. So I've logged in into the shell. Okay. And now we'll again create the table. So remember here, like this is the time when we first mapped the Docker volume. So after this, whatever rows and databases and tables you create inside the shell will be persisted. Okay. So on the next restart or whenever you restart or up and running this container with the same Docker compose file, you will see that data is persisted. Okay. So we give docker compose down to pull our container. Okay. So docker compose up minus d. So we are again running it. So at this state we have inserted the data in our previous step. Okay. And now again we'll verify the data. So we are going inside the shell. So we give docker exec -it and the bash command. Now you have to log in with mysql minus username and minus p for the password. So once you log into the shell, we'll check the tables which we have created and the rows we have inserted earlier. So now you can see the data is persisted, okay, the persons, and we will also verify the contents of the persons table. So you see the data is available. Okay, so the data is available here. Okay, so this way you can persist your data. So the next thing we learn is using a custom configuration file with mysql docker image. Okay, so this is helpful when you want to put some or overwrite mysql default settings. Okay, so I'll show you the steps. So you have to map a config directory here. Okay, so you can either create a directory or use the existing directory as well. Okay, so here in this case I have given absolute path. Okay, and note that I have given only up to the directory and I have not mentioned the file name. Okay, so this is the file in my local system. Okay, so its extension is .conf or .cnf. Okay, so here I have exposed three properties. Okay, and we'll validate it whenever we run our docker container. Okay, so after you do the mapping, okay, so first you have to pull down the container if it is running. Okay, so with docker compose done, it will stop the container. Okay, now we'll again run the container with the config provided. So once we give docker compose up minus d, so we again run the container. So this time we have mapped the external configuration file. Okay, so once it is running, we can verify those properties or basically the configurations. Okay, so first we'll check the logs that it is running. So the MySQL container is up and running. And now you have to again log into the shell. So this is the step like which you use to verify like your external configuration is applied to the running container. Okay. So this will be helpful for debugging purposes. So this is the command mysql minus p minus e and the name of the variables we are or property we are searching. So once we give the password, then it will show all the variable values and you see our value is applied. So I'll check another property, okay, that is the max connection. So you can increase and decrease these values and then do a restart or just stop and run it again, the container with the docker compose, and you will see your changes gets reflected. So you see the max connection is applied to 250. So this way you can provide external configuration to your docker compose or a running container. Okay, so the same approach you can take for other images as well, but you have to understand the variables which you need or which are supported. Okay, so I'll recap the steps. Okay, so we have created a docker compose file where we have given database name user and then we have mapped the data volumes. Okay, so here we have mapped the config volume, and we have given only the path up to the path. Okay, and we mapped it with the conf file inside the MySQL image. Okay, then we have created the tables, so you can create any other tables of your choice and test it or verify. Okay, so you have to create a directory for persisting the data, or you can use the existing directory as well, and this is our sample configuration file, okay, which we have mapped. So thank you all, hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. So please like and subscribe to this channel for more updates. So thank you.